We want to talk about this whole death thing in a way that leaves you all forevermore in a new understanding. There is no death. There is no ending to that which you are. There is only life. Sometimes you're focused here, sometimes you are focused completely in non-physical, but there is no ending to that which you are. You have made death out to be such an awful thing that when you first sat down here, now your vibration has shifted completely. When you first sat down here, it was inconceivable to you that we could have a joyful conversation about what has just taken place. And yet we are having a joyful conversation about what has taken place because there is no death.
I know.
There's only vibration, and the vibration of non-physical you can tune into even while you're physical. That's the thing that we want to talk about. You see, most people think dead or alive, he's gone, I can't talk to him. When you understand it as a vibrational world, and that there is the vibration of non-physical and there is the vibration of physical, and when you understand that the vibration of non-physical is always in the vortex and always resistance-free, then anytime you want to have a conversation with anyone who is no longer physically focused, what does that mean to you? You got to get in the vortex. What else does that mean? You've got to feel good. You've got to find a way of focusing yourself into feeling better. You just have to tune into the vibration that is that non-physical energy. So here's the question and the answer that we want all of this to sort of frame up for all of you. Most people wait until a situation like this, until they really have motivation to tune in to source energy. And we want to say to all of you, why not just tune in because it's who you are? Now, it doesn't matter that that's a motivation to tune in. That's the gift that he promised you even before either one of you were born. That is, I will give you reason to want to be in the vortex. So, inside the vortex, we've been talking about that. Get in the vortex, get in the vortex, get in the vortex. What does it mean? It means work on focusing in a way that releases resistance. So, in this poignant conversation, someone has just gotten in the vortex because withdrawing completely from the physical removes all resistant thought. Meditation does that for you too. Appreciation does that for you too. In other words, the point that we want to dramatically make here is that you don't have to croak in order to get into the vortex. But if you want to interact with anyone that you care about who has, you've got to find a way to get into the vortex. So what does that mean? That means that you have to see through the eyes of Source. You have to understand the eternal nature of your being. And when you understand the eternal nature of your being, you never mourn the loss of someone not physically focused. Transmitting and receiving signals. Someone sent the signal, a receiver received the signal. It's not different from that, is it? So when you understand that all of you, while you are here physically focused, have this non-physical aspect that you're reaching for, then reaching for it is a prudent thing to do, not just after somebody's made their transition. That's really the point that we're wanting to make. The vortex is not only the place where you go when you're no longer physically focused. It is that vibrational place that you have access to all day, every day, you see.
I've actually had some really great communication with him on a visceral level. The hugs from within, I've had several, because I do work every day at trying to get into the vortex and stay there. I've had several things that I know in my heart were from him, and that's been really important.
Let us give you some dialogue from his vantage point now, because there is so much, and it's always exhilarating to hear someone newly reemerged into non-physical, especially someone who was not in the vortex a great deal of the time while they were physically focused. When Burl Ives, do you remember the singer Burl Ives? He became a friend of Jerry Nestor's a few years before he made his transition. So during his transition, Esther felt him making his transition. She could feel his resistance lifting, and she could feel him reemerging. And in the moment of what is called the death experience, Esther felt an elation beyond anything that she had ever known before. And immediately she began receiving conversation from him. And what he said was, it is the most interesting thing. He was always a very speculative person, interested in understanding how things work. And he had had conversations with Abraham about the big picture. So now, newly reemerged in the non-physical, what he is wanting to explain to Esther, he said, first, you should know Abraham is right. And Esther laughed because that was part of the game they had going. One night, his wife sent Esther in to sit with him at his bedside. And Esther didn't want to go because she knew he didn't want her to come. But his wife wanted the conversation, and so they were both obeying. So they sat and visited a little. He is still in his physical body, and he is very grouchy. And Esther said, well, you know, Abraham says such and such. And he is nodding. And then Esther said, and Abraham says such and such, and he's nodding. And then he said, what do you think Abraham would say about me going to bed? And Esther laughed because she could feel that in this conversation that they were having, that he wasn't wanting any of it, and he was ready to make his transition, and the conversation wasn't helping him, it was actually annoying him. And then he made his transition. Now, Esther and Jerry were in San Antonio, and he was in Washington State, and so they were not sitting at the bedside when Esther feels this exaltation, this exhilaration, this feeling of freedom, this releasing of resistance, this most exhilarating, glorious sensation ever in her physical body. And then he said, Esther, can you hear me? And Esther said, I can hear you. He said, it is so interesting. Things that were bothering me so much just moments ago now are not bothering me at all. Mm-hmm. And then he said, I don't know if we'll be having any more of these conversations, but I've enjoyed this one. I do. And he was gone. And Esther will never forget the contrasting experience that she had between someone nowhere near the vibration of Abraham and then someone completely non-resistant and in vibrational alignment with who they really are. So now, speaking from the perspective of someone who has been physically focused and not very happy in physical body, having just reemerged into non-physical, this is our dialogue setting this up. So much big deal made out of so much that doesn't matter. So many things all propped up for you to worry about that aren't worth worrying about. So much experience that leads to so much expansion that could be experienced while you're still physically focused. Doesn't seem to matter because all of it is stacked up, ready for me to experience now. Nothing has been wasted. Everything that I've lived, I can feel, was waiting for me here, just as you have been trying to tell me. Everything is stacked up, waiting for me, and I get to explore it piece by piece now. They're telling me that I can take it at my own pace, that I can explore it as quickly or as slowly as I want to. And right now, what I'm doing is savoring each and every piece of everything that I've been putting here throughout all of my physical experience. Mom, there's stuff here that was here when I was born, still waiting for me. And all of the things that I've put there since I've been here, still stacked up, ready for me now. This is better than anyone has ever described it. It's more expansive and better feeling. There is nothing frivolous about it, and there is nothing not real about it. It's as real here as it is there. I have full vision of everything. I have auditory. It feels to me that I have all of my physical senses. It feels that I'm everything that I've ever been physical and so much more. It feels to me as if life in the physical is just preparing us for all of this. I'm not sure. It feels to me that this may be the real thing. They're telling me it isn't. They're telling me it isn't. They're telling me that this is not the real thing. It just feels like the real thing to me because it's so new. I'm seeing it for the first time with such clear vision. I have a feeling, and it's coming on very strong, that I could have felt every bit of this while I was still focused in my physical body. But you know what? It doesn't matter that I wasn't feeling it while I was focused in my physical body, because I'm feeling it now. There isn't anything to worry about. There are so many things that so many physical people are worrying about. There is not anything to worry about. Everything that you worry about is bogus. Everything that you worry about is bogus. There is nothing to worry about. I'm glad that you can hear me through Esther with Abraham. Know that I am aware of you. Feel me. Laugh with me. Play with me. Come with me, but not the way I did. Come with me, but not the way I did. Come with me, but not the way I did. I am not sorry about anything. I have not one regret about my physical experience, and I'm not sorry about my transition into non-physical. There's great reason for this, and I feel that I understand it all fully now. We'll have endless conversations if you want them. There is so much that I want you to understand from my vantage point. They're telling me that it's not my job or your job to learn your life through my vantage point. But it's intoxicating. Now I know a bit how Abraham feels. I see now why they are so obnoxious. We can have this conversation and more at your leisure. But I have the feeling that there won't be much more for me to say. We don't have to hash out anything, you know that. We don't have to go back and hash anything out. That's all done. We don't have to hash any of it out. There is nothing to be explained about anything. Just know that I'm here where I belong and where you belong. And come here and play with me if you want. And I will always be here. They're telling me that I am like your inner being. They're telling me I am your inner being. That can't be right. They're telling me that my inner being and your inner being, they're telling me that none of that conversation matters much. They're telling me that the inner being that is mine and the inner being that is yours and the inner being that is Abraham and the inner being that is Source, they're telling me that it is all one and the same thing. And that we don't have to rendezvous again physically, because we are eternally intertwined non-physically. I get that. Do you get that? I get that. I like being here. I hope you will come here often. Tell everyone that there is no death. I can't think of anything else that's important, except that I feel a level of love and understanding and appreciation unlike anything that I've ever felt before. And Mom, there's a feeling that is even better than all of that. I feel worthy. They don't like the word worthy here very much, but it's the only one that I can find. I feel worthy. I feel complete. I feel whole. I feel good. I feel eager. I feel certain. I feel happy. I feel joy. I feel really busy. I have so much that I want to do. You all are making too much of this death stuff. I've worn out my